A young woman applied for a farm job. What the millionaire did will change her life forever. Clara stood in the kitchen, cradling a mug of coffee while her father's labored breaths echoed through the small house. At 22, she felt like an anchor, carrying the weight of her family on her shoulders. Her younger siblings shuffled past, their brows knitted in worry. If she didn't find work soon, everything they had would slip away. A flicker of hope ignited within her as she spotted a weathered sign on the town's edge. Help wanted at Caldwell Farms. Her heart raced as she daydreamed about the possibilities. A stable paycheck meant food on the table, maybe even new shoes for the kids. It was her lifeline. The immense farm belonged to Henry Caldwell, a billionaire known for keeping to himself. He had fortresses of wealth while her family struggled to keep their home, yet she was willing to do anything to make a connection. Clara arrived at the sprawling farm, the morning sun spilling across the fields, painting life all around. Her heart raced with determination. She worked with a fervor that echoed the classic American spirit, sweat rolling down her brow, hands dirty with honest labor. Day by day, she became a part of the community, gaining friends and allies who were also trying to make ends meet in their fading town. But the warmth of community was threatened. Clara overheard hushed conversations about Henry's plans to sell the farm. It wasn't just her job on the line. It was the livelihood of her neighbors, the only source of income for many families in town. Resentment and fear bubbled beneath the surface. Clara saw Henry as a distant figure shrouded in wealth, while he could only see her as an employee, nothing more than a laborer in his eyes. Just as Clara settled into her new role, a storm rolled into the town, fierce and unforgiving. Winds howled, rattling windows and tearing through the streets like a wild beast. The community rallied together, hands joining to protect their homes and the precious farm. Clara emerged as a leader, her spirit sparking courage in others. Instead of running from the storm, they all stood side by side against it. Amidst the chaos, Clara locked eyes with Henry. His expression was unreadable, but Clara's heart pounded. She gathered her courage. "You can't sell this place, Henry. It's not just a farm. It's a lifeline for all of us."
Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Her words hung between them, raw and powerful. Their lives pulsated in that moment, the storm reflecting their vulnerabilities. Henry began to see her, not just the worker alongside him, but a fierce heart beating for a community that depended on this land. Raindrops fell like tears as Clara's spirit soared with hope, even as the future hung in uncertainty. Would Henry choose profit? Or could he finally see the collective heart of those who depended on him? As the wind roared, a seed of transformation had been planted, the storm's fury hinting at changes yet to come, leaving Clara and the entire town waiting anxiously for an answer that could alter their destinies forever. The storm raged on, but something shifted in the air, a crackle of possibility igniting Clara's hope. She could see the fear in Henry's eyes, but beneath it, there was a flicker of something else, perhaps acknowledgement. They stood apart, yet both were tied to the fate of Caldwell Farms, intertwined by the tempest outside and the unspoken truths between them. Clara took a step forward, her heart pounding like thunder. "You have the power to change this," she breathed, feeling her strength surge, defying the storm as much as the man before her. "Listen to us, Henry. This place means everything, not just to us but also to you. Look around. These people, your workers, are loyal. They've given their lives for this land." The wind howled, but Clara's voice cut through it like a lighthouse beckoning ships safely to shore.
She was no longer just an employee, but a voice of the community, standing against the odds. With each word spoken, Clara felt the tempest transforming her uncertainty into resolve. Would he hear her? Would he understand the collective heartbeat of their town? Henry's gaze remained steady, intersecting with her fervent stare. The chaos enveloping them fell silent for a heartbeat as he processed her words. Clara could see it, the internal struggle playing out behind his cool demeanor. It sparked a frightening thought. If Henry sold the farm, what would become of them all? As the rain poured down harder, Clara noticed something astonishing in Henry's eyes. Was it empathy? She had always seen him as a faceless billionaire, but now she felt a connection, a shared humanity amid their vastly different lives. The appeal was simple, but profound. They were both custodians of something far greater than themselves. "People can surprise you, Henry," Clara continued, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. "This place is more than a business for you. It's life. It's love. It's the heart of this town. You have a choice. To be seen only as a wealthy owner or become part of this community. They need you, Henry. We all do." Her words hung between them, raw and genuine, and in that moment, the storm outside seemed to relent. The winds began to quiet, the relentless rain softened, and for the first time, Clara could see Henry's facade shift. It was a small change, yet it felt monumental. "Why do you care so much?" he finally asked, his voice breaking the stillness. There was a vulnerability in his question that Clara hadn't expected. "Because we're family," Clara replied, her heart aching with the rawness of it. "And family looks out for each other." Henry's expression changed, a mix of surprise and contemplation crossing his face. It was a turning point, an unlooked-for bridge growing between them. Clara could almost feel the ground beneath them shifting, the weight of their stubborn histories being challenged by newfound understanding. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed. But it wasn't thunder. It was the town coming together, gathering to confront the storm inside and outside. Clara's heart raced. Is this what it takes? She thought. Could a shared calamity be the spark for something bigger? Henry Caldwell, the man who stood above them all, now stood on the precipice of choice. His answer could reshape not only his legacy, but the future of the entire town. And just as the last raindrops tapped against the earth, Clara's phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from her sister, an urgent plea for answers. The world outside was waiting, but Clara realized she must find the courage to turn to Henry once more, to step deeper into the unknown. Would he take her hand? Would he choose them? Clara took a breath, ready to bridge the gap not just between one person's decision and the future of their community, but between a solitary billionaire and a collective hope that could shine brighter than any storm. Each moment felt deafeningly quiet as she faced Henry again. The answer she sought could change everything. What would he choose? Clara's breath caught in her throat as she waited for Henry's answer, the gravity of the moment weighing down on them like the heavy clouds that loomed above. She could feel her heart hammering in her chest, each beat echoing the hope tethered to her words. Henry's brow furrowed, confusion mixing with something deeper. It was as if he were trying to not only reconcile Clara's plea, but to reconcile a part of himself he had long kept buried beneath layers of privilege and isolation. The flicker in his eyes grew more intense, like a candle struggling against a wind, ready to flicker out or blaze through the darkness. "Family," he echoed tentatively, letting the word linger. The silence that followed was thick and charged. Around them, the rain had transformed into a gentle drizzle, washing away the tension just a bit, but not the urgency that hung heavily in the air. Clara shifted her weight from one foot to the other, maintaining eye contact, desperate to keep that spark alive. "Yes, family," she said softly. "We're tied to each other, Henry. This land is our shared history, our shared future. You can't just turn away." "Turn away?" he repeated, voice low. "That's all I've done my entire life. I thought that power and my name would define me. But maybe—" He trailed off, as if he were fighting against the walls he had built around himself for years. Clara's heart surged at this glimmer of realization. The sound of footsteps interrupted them, muffled at first, then growing louder. The townspeople were gathering, their silhouettes emerging in the gray light. Clara's heart swelled with pride as she recognized familiar faces, people she had worked beside, shared laughter with, and grieved alongside when times were tough. They were family in the truest sense. "I won't hide anymore," Henry finally said, his voice stronger now. "But I need to know. Can I trust you? Can I truly trust them?" The vulnerability in his words struck Clara deeply. For a billionaire like Henry, questioning the loyalty of the community was a shocking admission. "You've never had to trust anyone, have you?" she asked gently, feeling the urge to reach out and touch his arm to somehow anchor them both to this moment. His eyes flickered, revealing a vulnerability that left him feeling more human and less untouchable. "Trust is built, Clara, not just given, and I don't know how to build it." "But we can start together," Clara urged, her voice a soft yet persistent push. "Meet us at the town hall tomorrow. Let's talk. Let's plan. We can find a way to save Caldwell Farms, not just for the land, but because it's ours." Henry's expression hardened, decisions swirling within him like the storm that had just begun to retreat outside. "And if they reject me?" "They won't," Clara stated, fierce and unwavering. "You might be surprised how quickly they will welcome you back. You have given your name to this place without realizing it." There was a moment of silence as he weighed her words, the tension palpable like a tightrope stretched across chasms of fear and hope. Did he possess the courage to take that next step and embrace the community he had distanced himself from for so long? The townsfolk were closer now, their murmurs filling the air with unease. Clara felt the urgency of the moment push against her heart. She couldn't just wait for him to make a choice. She had to inspire it. "Henry," she said, her voice rising above the gathered crowd. "This is a chance to write a new story, for all of us. Are you willing to risk it?" As the words slipped from her lips, she recognized the truth behind them. It was a risk, where acceptance, vulnerability, and change loomed, punctuated by the weight of the past. Henry remained silent, his face a mixture of anticipation and dread. Clara could see he was teetering on the verge of a decision that could ripple through not just their lives, but the entire town. Would he seize this opportunity to claim his place in a family he never acknowledged? Just then, the townspeople began to shout their names, all clamoring for a connection to him, a bridge to rebuild what had been lost. Clara felt the swell of emotion around her, powerful, ready to embrace whoever would join. "Henry," they called out, a collective chant rising in the steely air of the gathering storm. "We believe in you. Join us." Clara reached for Henry's hand, grasping it tight. The heat of the moment surged between them, sending shockwaves through the crowd. Would he make his choice? Would he take her hand and step into the light? Or would he retreat back into the shadows of his old life? The answer hung heavily in the air, waiting for the next bold step. What would happen next? Henry stared at Clara, uncertainty etched across his face. The sounds of the crowd faded into a soft buzz, as if the world had condensed around them, narrowing down to just this moment. He could feel the warmth of Clara's grip, a lifeline, grounding him among the swirling thoughts and doubts in his mind. "Join us!" the townspeople shouted again, a tidal wave of hope washing over the stormy air. Clara's heart raced. This was it, the moment that could alter the fabric of their lives. She wanted to believe in him, to believe that the wall he had built could crumble under the fervor of this grassroots plea.
Henry, Clara whispered, her thumb brushing against his palm, urging him to look her in the eye. This is more than just about Caldwell Farms. This is about us, the people who want to stand beside you, not behind you. We want to move forward, together. His eyes searched her face, searching for something, clarity, conviction, or perhaps the courage he felt he lacked. The glimmer of recognition flickered in his gaze, but it was overwhelmed by the weight of his past decisions. Clara noticed a hardened resolve forming behind his once vulnerable expression. I spent so long thinking I could just control everything with money and power. His voice was stronger now, tinged with raw emotion. But I see it's not that simple. And maybe I've been hiding, just like you said. I thought it would keep me safe. A murmur of understanding rippled through the crowd. They had seen it before. The isolation that came with wealth, the walls that kept you captive even as they sheltered you. Clara felt a stirring within her. You're not alone in this, she said, squeezing his hand. We're all a little scared, but we're here for each other. We want to build something real. With a deep breath, Henry straightened, the shimmer of determination igniting in his eyes. I've never been part of something this significant, he admitted, vulnerability back on his face. What if I fail? Another chant rose, louder and united. You won't. Clara stepped a bit closer. If you stumble, we will catch you. We will be right here. Time seemed to hold still. The rain had slowed to a soft patter, the clouds parting just enough to allow short bursts of sunlight to peek through. The warm glow felt almost like a command to move forward, to charge ahead into the unknown. All right, Henry said finally, his voice trembling with sudden resolve. I'll come to the town hall tomorrow. I'll face them. Cheers erupted, filling the air, lifting the heaviness that had cocooned them moments before. Clara's heart soared. She couldn't help but break into a smile, her joy spilling over into laughter that mingled with the cheers around them. But beneath the excitement, Clara felt a shadow of anxious uncertainty tugging at her. What if Henry walked in there with a good heart, but still carried the weights of his past? What if, despite their hope, the townsfolk's reaction turned sour? She wanted to believe in the goodness of the people and the man standing beside her, but doubt flickered like the errant raindrops still lingering in the air. With Henry now aligning himself with her and the community, the next day promised to be a game-changer. But would their dreams stand strong against the realities of what Henry had left behind? As they walked hand in hand through the gathering crowd, Clara felt the thrill of possibility, but together with a flicker of fear dancing in her stomach. Tomorrow could be a new beginning, or it could rip open old wounds that had yet to heal. What happens next? She wondered quietly, as she looked at him with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The answer lingered in the air between them, electric, urging them both to step boldly into whatever awaited. Would they embrace the future together, or would the demons of the past pull Henry back, leaving them both standing in the dark? Morning light spilled over Caldwell Farms, bathing everything in a soft golden hue. Clara stood at her kitchen counter, nerves coiling tighter as she poured 2 mugs of coffee. The conversation from the night before replayed in her mind. The anticipation was palpable, but so was the fear. Did you sleep? Henry's voice came from the doorway, causing her to jump slightly. He looked sharply dressed, more confident already, but Clara could see the lines of worry etched on his brow. Not really, she admitted, handing him a coffee mug. I keep thinking about the meeting. What if they're not as forgiving as we hope? Henry took a sip, his expression thoughtful as he glanced out the window towards the horizon. I guess I've lived my life preparing for the worst. It's hard to shake that off overnight. She placed a steadying hand on his arm. It's just one step at a time. Remember, you'll have them with you. The townspeople want change. They want leaders they can trust.
He nodded, but Clara caught the flicker in his eyes, a shadow of doubt that refused to fade. They shared a moment of silence, the air thick with unspoken worries. "Well, the cafe will still be there," he said, trying to lighten the mood. "If I have to run away, I know where to find the best coffee." Clara chuckled softly, a warmth filling her heart. "I'll make sure it's waiting for you, even if you ask for extra whipped cream." As they prepared to leave, Clara's phone buzzed with a message from the town council. Her stomach tightened with anxiety. "It looks like everyone is gathering early," she said, her voice slightly trembling. "Then let's get going," Henry replied, determination settling over him like a cloak. He gently nudged her back toward the door. Arriving at the town hall, a crowd had already gathered, faces familiar but now shrouded in expectations. Clara's stomach twisted. Would they be welcoming or skeptical? They exchanged glances as they entered, and suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Henry stood taller, his heartbeat steadying. Clara gently squeezed his hand, adding a silent promise. "You can do this. Thank you all for coming," Henry began, his voice strong but boyish at the same time. "I know I've let many of you down, and today is a step towards making things right." He paused, eyes scanning the crowd, catching Clara's gaze, which infused him with warmth. Just as he was about to dive deeper into his speech, a voice rang out from the back. "What makes you think you deserve a second chance?" The room went still, every breath hanging as people waited for his response. Clara's heart thudded in her chest. Intensity pooled in Henry's eyes as he took a deep breath, refusing to back down. "Because I believe that every person deserves a chance to learn, grow, and prove themselves. And I will fight for that chance. For this community, and for myself." Murmurs spread, some supportive, others doubtful. Clara's anxiety twisted tighter as she watched Henry grapple with the implications of his past, alongside the hope for his future. But before he could continue, another voice shot out, sharp and piercing. "You have no idea what it's like for the rest of us." Henry's shoulders stiffened, his face revealing a mix of hurt and realization. Clara felt her pulse race. This was the moment they both dreaded, the truth exposing itself. Would Henry falter under the pressure, or would he stand firm? "Maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know. But I want to learn," he said, the sincerity ringing clear in his voice. "I want to be part of something meaningful." The crowd rippled, divided between those who sought to believe and those still gripped by resentment. Clara's heart raced. Would this moment turn in their favor, or had the past built a wall too high to overcome? As the tension hung thick in the air, she could only watch. Henry was on the edge of something monumental. The next words he spoke might shape everything, or shatter the fragile hope they had built together. Clara felt herself leaning in, listening desperately for a sign. But the crowd's reaction was about to tip into uncharted territory. Would they embrace a new beginning, or would betrayal's shadow loom larger than hope's light? Henry's next words caught in his throat, a mixture of courage and fear evident in his eyes as they roamed the room. Clara could feel the weight of the crowd's expectations pressing down like a storm cloud ready to burst. She held her breath, praying for a shift, a glimmer of understanding among the faces before them. "What do you want to learn, Henry?" A woman shouted from the left, her voice cutting through the tension. "What do you really know about us?" Clara's heart sank. They needed empathy now more than ever, not hostility. She looked at Henry, who seemed to draw inward as he faced this challenge. She knew he wanted to open up, to be vulnerable. "Tell them about your grandmother," she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. Henry took a deep breath, the memory flooding back. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about this town," he began, pivoting from his script and letting his guard down. She spoke of community, of neighbors helping each other no matter the circumstances. I realize now that I forgot that in my pursuit of success. I became distant from the very roots that raised me, from all of you. The crowd was still for a moment. Clara's eyes searched their faces. Some looked intrigued, others remained skeptical. She tried to focus on the hopeful expressions, but they were hard to find. "Every night I think about the mistakes I made," he continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "I want to learn how to make it right. Not just for myself, but for everyone I've let down." The crowd murmured again, some nodding while others crossed their arms, still unsure. Clara felt a spark of hope ignite within her, but dared not to reach for it just yet. "Do you think words are enough?" The sharp voice interrupted again, echoing through the hall. "Do you think everyone can just forget the past?" Henry squared his shoulders, the resolve hardening in his expression. "No, it's not enough. I don't expect forgiveness without action. I want to work for it," he replied, his voice steadier now. "I want to listen to you all, help bridge the gaps that I created. Will you let me?" In that moment, Clara felt the stirring of a shared bravery. She silently willed the crowd to realize that a commitment, the messy, human kind, was being offered right before them. "Show us," a man shouted from the back, his tone softening. "Actions say more than words. Prove to us you want to change." The chant grew as others echoed, "Show us! Show us!" The energy shifted, and Clara suddenly saw the walls start to crack. Henry took a step forward, his eyes glistening with newfound determination as he scanned the crowd. "Then I will," he responded, his voice strong. "I'm willing to spend my weekends on the farms helping wherever I can. I'll face every fear of judgment and recommit myself to being part of this community, full force. I owe you that much." The room was alive with newfound energy. Clara felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. There it was, the light of hope, flickering defiantly against the shadows of doubt. But just as the tide seemed to shift, a cold chill swept through the hall. A figure stepped forward, one cloaked in anger and disappointment. Clara recognized him immediately, a face in the community who had never shied away from conflict. "And what if your actions hurt us again? What if this is just another round of empty promises?" Silence fell again, heavy and palpable. Henry's face paled slightly, but he met the challenger's gaze without flinching. Clara could almost hear the beating of her heart, thrumming against her ribs, mirroring the tension thickening the air. One person's actions can destroy a lot, but they can also heal, if given the chance. Henry's words hung there, a dare mingled with hope. Would the crowd give him that chance? Would they allow him to prove he was sincere despite his past? As Clara waited for someone from the crowd to respond, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were teetering on the edge of an important turning point. Whatever happened next might very well determine not just Henry's fate, but the fabric of the community they all shared. And in that moment, Clara knew this was just the beginning. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. Clara held her breath, her eyes darting to Henry, who was standing firm against the tide of doubt. His determination shone through like a beacon, but the shadows lingered. A mother sitting in the front row, cradling her child, finally spoke up. "You talk about healing, but what about the children?" Her voice trembled slightly, and Clara could see the truth behind her words. "What kind of example does this set? How can you help our kids when you've let us down?" Henry's jaw tightened, but Clara sensed that her question was a moment of connection rather than an attack. "You're right," he said slowly, his voice dropping to meet the gravity of her concern. "I can't change the past, and I know I can't take back the pain I've caused. But I do want to create something positive for them, for all of us. The crowd shifted slightly, the vulnerability in his words catching their attention. Clara felt a swell of emotion around her. Maybe they were starting to listen, really listen. "What will you do to show that?" came another voice from the back, a man with a graying beard who appeared to have seen many seasons of change. "Talk is cheap. Everyone wants to be redeemed, but how do we know you're different?" Henry took a measured breath, glancing at Clara, who offered him an encouraging nod. "I'll start a community program," he said, the conviction building in him. "A mentorship for our youth. I can use my resources to provide scholarships or workshops. I want to involve local farmers and tradespeople to show the kids the value of hard work." The murmurs intensified. People exchanged glances, weighing his words against their memories. It was a moment of fragility, but Clara sensed the heartbeat of hope quickening. "Bring the kids to the farm," someone yelled, adding a spark to the conversation. "Let them learn what real work looks like." "Yes!" Henry jumped on the idea, his passion igniting. "Let's also start weekend gatherings. We could have cookouts, storytelling nights. I want to bring the neighborhood together. I want to hear from you, to learn your stories." In that moment, Clara could see it. The cracks beginning to widen into something more. A bridge, perhaps. There was energy flowing, enough to stitch together their shared histories. But that same figure, the challenger, still loomed. "And if you fail again, Henry?" The voice cut like ice. "What then? Our trust doesn't come easily. You don't know the scars we carry." Henry stood tall, the weight of the room pressing down on him. Clara felt warmth radiate from him, reminding her of growing wheat fields, ripe with promise. "I can't ask you to trust me immediately, but I can promise to show up. To be here not just in words, but with actions. If I falter, I'll face that too." Tension hovered, floating on the edge of hope and fear. Then, one by one, members of the crowd began to nod. Clara's heart raced. Could this be their moment? As the first tentative applause began, a few voices joined in, clapping, echoing her growing belief. It wasn't wild, but there was an unmistakable shift in the atmosphere. The room was filled with cautious optimism, as if they were just beginning to exhale. She could see recognition dawning in Henry's eyes. He was standing at a crossroads, the community feeling more like a family again, if only for a fleeting moment. Clara felt a warmth wash over her, sparking determination of her own. But then, like a sudden gust of wind, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, glancing at the screen. The name made her heart skip. The cafe owner who had offered her a job, but with conditions she hadn't expected. The message read, "I need to discuss your position. It's about your future here." Her breath caught. What would she do? Would she leave now as hope was burgeoning, or was it time for a change of her own? As Henry spoke over the crowd, Clara felt torn between two futures, the one with Henry, rooted in community, and the one that offered her a safe escape. Could she take a leap for both? Deep within, she knew this was just the next chapter. What awaited her on the other side could change everything. The buzz of the crowd faded into a low hum as Clara stared at her phone, anxiety twisting in her stomach. The message blinked back at her, pressing against her mind like a weight she couldn't shake. Your future. It seemed so daunting, yet here with Henry, she felt something building. A light pushing through the anxious shadows. She inhaled deeply, turning her attention back to him. Henry stood at the center, his voice rising over the murmurs, igniting sparks of hope. We need you all to share your stories, your fears. Only then can we truly begin to heal. The crowd shifted in their seats, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Clara could see curiosity flickering in their eyes, a lean toward vulnerability. A woman from the side stood up, her voice stronger than Clara expected. Henry? You think you can just waltz back in and change everything? What do you know about our pain? Anger filled her words, but Clara noticed her face, a mix of bitterness and something else. Fear, maybe. I don't, Henry admitted, his expression steady. But I want to learn. I want us all to heal together. I want my past to help us, not haunt us. Clara's heart thudded in her chest. He was trying. He was offering them more than just hot air. She felt the ache in the air shift, turning into something softer, more tentative. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, and she was pulled back. Clara bit her lip, fighting the urge to check it. There was a part of her that screamed to walk out, to explore that lifeline. The cafe job called to her, a way out, a future away from the tumultuous past. Henry's voice broke through her thoughts. I understand mistrust, and I don't take it lightly. I cannot erase what's happened, but together we can mold this community into something that supports our children, our future. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Clara could see nods of agreement, some tighter than others. The idea was taking root. It struck her that perhaps they were all searching for something tangible, a thread to hold on to when life turned chaotic. As voices started to rise, discussions spiraled around the room about the mentorship program, ideas for harvest festivals, educational workshops, and a resurgence of community spirit. It was electric. Clara's heart raced, fueled by Henry's passion and the growing support around them. And yet, her phone buzzed again. Guilt clawed at her, twisting her insides. She was here, and yet a part of her was drifting away, back to the safety of the cafe. She glanced at Henry, whose gaze held an intensity that made her want to lean in, to stay. Clara? He said suddenly, pulling her focus back. What do you think? She felt the spotlight shift to her. Breath hitched in her throat. I think, she began, searching for the right words. I think there's potential here, a chance, but... She hesitated, fighting the uncertainty swirling inside her. But what? He pressed gently, soft but firm. What do I want more? Clara looked around, seeing the hope on faces that had once been etched with doubt. The community could rally around Henry, but could it rally around her too? I have a job offer, she finally admitted. The words hung heavy, suspended in the air. But honestly, I think I want to stay, to help. The room fell silent, every gaze snapping to her. She felt raw, exposed, yet alive with determination. A collective breath seemed to be held, waiting. Then stay, Henry urged, stepping closer. His sincerity was blazing. Help us build this future. The silence thickened, an unspoken agreement hanging between them. Clara realized she was standing at another crossroads. The weight in her heart stirred, tinged with excitement and fear. But just as she thought she was ready to decide, her phone buzzed again. A single word illuminated the screen. Urgent. An urgent message that could change everything. Clara knew she had to choose, fast. What if that message contained news that would either give her the freedom she craved or shackled her fate once again? Clara's heart raced as she stared at the word on her phone. Urgent. It felt like a storm brewing inside her, dark and relentless. She hesitated, anxiety clawing at her gut. What if it was good news? What if it was bad? Henry's voice was still close, his presence warm and grounding. Clara? He asked quietly, concern threading his tone. The way he looked at her felt like a lifeline, but the pull of her phone was impossible to ignore. Taking a breath, she finally answered, trying to mask her unease. I need to check something. She stepped away slightly, feeling the weight of 100 eyes on her. With trembling fingers, she tapped the screen and opened the message. It felt like uncovering a long-buried secret. The sender was unknown. but their words hit her like ice water. "You need to come home. It's about Mom." Her breath caught in her throat. Thoughts raced like wildfire. Her mother hadn't been well. Was something really wrong now? She felt a flicker of guilt for even considering staying. "Clara?" Henry's voice pulled her back. She looked up, and he was closer now, his expression a mix of concern and something deeper, perhaps understanding. I have to go." The words slipped out, and her heart ached as she sensed the shift in atmosphere. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice low, like a whisper meant for her ears only. She nodded, even though her insides twisted with uncertainty. "It's just family stuff." The vulnerability in her words exposed a part of her she hadn't intended to share. Henry stepped back, giving her space but not wavering in his support. "If you need to go, then go. But you'll be missed here." The crowd muttered, and she felt the weight of their scrutiny. They had just started building something beautiful. Did she really want to walk away? The urge to stay and help, to see this community thrive, battled with the pull of urgency. "I'm ready to help," she insisted, her voice barely a whisper, the weight of her decision pressing hard against her chest. But you need to know what's going on with your mom," he concluded gently, his eyes softening with empathy. Clara felt a bittersweet sting in her heart. She hadn't expected him to understand so deeply. "Yeah," she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. "I don't want to leave, especially now." "But what if she needs you?" Henry pressed, and Clara could see the concern etched on his face. He wasn't just pushing her away, he was giving her permission to prioritize what mattered most. "All of this feels like it's finally coming together," Clara said, the uncertainty mixing with frustration. "What if I'm walking away from something important?" "Or perhaps you're walking toward something equally important," he replied, optimism lacing his words. "Your future is in your hands, Clara. No matter what path you choose, it should feel right to you." She felt the warmth of hope spark inside her again, yet doubt still nagged at the back of her mind. What was waiting for her back home? The text had sounded urgent, and her heart told her to respond, to be there for her mother. Yet what about this community that was finally finding its footing and rallying under Henry's vision? The room seemed to pulse with life and emotion, and she needed clarity. She looked at Henry, at the warmth in his gaze, hoping for a sign. But before she could speak again, her phone buzzed a final time. A new message. "Clara, please hurry." Her breath hitched. Every pulse in her body urged her to respond, to choose the safety of family over the uncertainty of this unknown future. But what of her growing connection to this community? Clara stood at the precipice, heart racing, unsure what awaited her on either side. What was she truly willing to sacrifice for the life she wanted? And would that sacrifice lead her home or forge her future? Clara stood with her phone gripped tightly in her hand, heart racing as every heartbeat echoed the tension in the town hall. She felt torn, pulled between family duties and the burgeoning life that awaited her alongside Henry and the community. "Clara!" Henry's voice broke through her thoughts again as he stepped closer, concern wrapping around him like a cloak. "What's happening? Is everything all right?" She took a breath, steadying herself as the weight of her decision settled on her. "I just got a message that my mom might be in trouble. I think I have to go." Her voice trembled, revealing the raw vulnerability beneath her determined exterior. Her heart ached at the thought of leaving, especially after all that had begun to unfold. "Then go, Clara." His words were immediate, no hesitation threaded through them. "Family is everything. You can't ignore that." Tears prickled at Clara's eyes, caught between gratitude and the crushing realization of what this meant for all of them. "But we were just starting to build something here," she said, her voice wavering as emotion bubbled to the surface. Henry nodded, kindness emanating from him. You're a part of this now, but your mother also needs you. Choose what feels right for your heart, he said gently but firmly. We'll still be here when you're ready. Clara took a moment, letting his words sink in, considering the faces of the townsfolk surrounding her. They had all begun to lean into hope, to trust again. Yet the shadows of uncertainty loomed with a gripping strength. Could she turn her back on that? And yet, her own family called. The urgency of her mother's health was a flame, crackling fiercely in her mind. I just don't want to miss out on what's happening here, she murmured, her eyes darting to the crowd. You won't be missing out if you're being there for the ones you love, Henry reassured, stepping closer. When you're ready to return, we'll be ready to fight for this farm, I promise. Clara felt warmth swell deep within her. You really mean that? She whispered, the emotion catching in her throat. I do, Henry said, his voice steady and sincere. You're a spark, Clara. This fire doesn't flicker out because you step away. It grows. The bigger picture is waiting for you, but so is the love of family. You can carry both. He was right. She could embrace her family while still nurturing the flame they all ignited together. The reality of her choice washed over her like the gentle waters of calm after a storm. Clara took a moment to search the faces of the townspeople, who had begun to murmur amongst themselves, the tension hanging in the air thickening again. I need to go, she finally said, the decision solidifying in her. But I won't forget any of this. With that, she took a deep breath, ready to face whatever was waiting for her at home, a mixture of love tethering her to her mother and hope threading her back to Henry and the community. I'll be back, Clara vowed, glancing once more into Henry's eyes, which shone with promise. I will come back, and we will see this vision through. Henry smiled softly, an understanding shining between them. Then take care of what matters most. We'll hold the fort here. As she turned to leave, caught in a swirl of emotions, Clara felt a jolt of electricity sweep through the crowd, connecting her present with the potential future. Every heartbeat resonated with the promise of togetherness, of healing and rebuilding their lives as one. Opening the doors of the town hall, the fresh air greeted her, cool but invigorating. She stepped out into the sunlight that flooded over the farm, illuminating everything, turning each shadow into a light dancing with possibility. As she drove home, the road unwinding ahead of her, Clara knew that this was just a part of her journey. Challenges lay ahead. She felt them in her bones, but so did love and community. She was woven into a greater narrative, one bound by the connections of hope and family. Back in the town hall, Henry faced the crowd again, their spirit glimmering with a blend of encouragement and cautious optimism. Clara may have stepped away physically for now, but the bond they forged would endure, strengthening the ties binding them all. He realized then that he needed to work not just for the farm, but to prove to himself, to every member of the community, that change wasn't just a possibility, but a choice he was committed to. Let's begin anew, Henry said, his voice loud and unwavering against the buzz of chatter. We have a long road ahead, but together we can make it brighter. Cheers erupted, affirming the solidarity that Clara had sparked in all of them. For the first time, the farm felt less like a business venture, and more like a home. And as Clara's car drifted further from Caldwell Farms, she knew it wasn't goodbye, merely a pause. She would return, ready to reshape their world, ready to embrace family anew, and ready to dive back into the heart of the community that had become her own. And that journey, it would be a beacon of everything they could achieve together. You need to subscribe now for more stories like this that show the power of transformation and community. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for real change. Comment your feelings and reactions about Clara and Henry's journey, because every voice matters. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this inspiring transformation. Let's keep building this community together.